So then now it's time for Clare Jones, and I'm also really excited about that because she's the Chief Commercial Officer of what3words. Claire, are you there? And when you are here, where exactly are you in the world?
Hi, yes, I'm in London at Field Count Soak, which is our what3words address in London.
Wow. Hey, Claire, you are explaining us the new geocode, is that right? Maybe just tell us a little bit more about it. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about what3words, and basically we designed a global address system. So I wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to what3words and how it works. So if I can get the slides up, then I can tell you a little bit about it. Thank you very much. It's amazingly smooth being able to do this. I wish I was there in real life, but doing it over Zoom is not so bad these days. Yeah, so basically, I know some of you will know what3words already, but just I'm going to tell you a little bit about the problem that we're solving, very relevant to the conversation that was just going on actually about optimization, particularly for fleet as well. So the way that people move and the way that things move has changed quite radically in the last kind of 10, 20 years. We didn't used to do things on our phones. We didn't used to order taxis to come to us on our phones. We didn't used to plan our journey on our phone and send it to our car. We didn't used to order our pizza on our phones. And of course, that has changed massively in the last few years. We've become really digital about how we're doing these things. We're ordering online, we're using ride hailing, we're sending information to our car from our phone or our smart devices at home. So the world looks pretty different to how it used to look when we used to use maps. And I'm just about the right age to remember the days when my parents used to be navigating and they had big paper maps that we kept in the back pocket of the front seat of the driver's seat in the car. And we would have these big maps that someone would have to read when they were driving around. Now, of course, that's not how we use maps anymore. Very few of us, I think, now take big paper maps with us, maybe sometimes, but very few of us. Most of us now use maps on our devices, on our phones, on our computers. That's generally how we use maps. And the problem with that is that as those maps have improved, and those maps improve all the time, they improve daily, the maps that we use, the address system that we use, the way that you set your destination, that system was actually designed a long time before devices existed, before phones and smartwatches and smart glasses and cars that you could talk to. The address system was designed a few hundred years before any of that. And so what that means is as the maps and the devices get more and more digital about how they're taking us to places, how they're delivering goods and people, the address system sort of breaks. There are breakpoints and it just doesn't work as well as it should because they weren't designed to be digital. Addresses were not designed in a digital age. And of course, right now, this is in a world where if you get lost, you're actually being told not to spend lots of time talking to other people. This is a world in which certainly I feel very nervous these days of talking to strangers, of coming close to people. I don't want to be dropped the wrong side of a hospital. If I'm going to get my vaccine, I don't really want to be at the side of the hospital where somebody is getting a COVID test, for example. That's just one example of it. And so we feel in the last kind of year or so that actually getting to the right place has become more important than ever. So it used to be important, but in the last year, we've seen as we've tried to manage the flow of people in environments, in public spaces, in big venues, we really care about showing up at exactly the right place. And the problem is that street addresses right now often don't do the best job at showing up in exactly the right place. So if you have a big building with multiple entrances, like a hospital, it can be really hard to explain where exactly you want to go because there's one postal address, right? And if you're going to put something into your car, you put in one postal address and you're not going to show up at the right ward, the right entrance where the COVID vaccination pop-up site is. So it's time that we had something a little bit better than this kind of, I'll get you to the right area, but I won't get you to exactly the right place. So, and this is also something we see with delivery. So we've certainly seen this in the UK and in Europe that as COVID happened, more and more people were starting to get home deliveries of all kinds, not just food, but e-commerce was having this boom as well. And again, if you are trying to do a contact-free delivery and you're expecting the driver to drop something on your doorstep, or at least show up at your door, it'd be really helpful if you could tell the driver where the door is, not just where the building is, and not just, if you're in a rural area, sometimes they won't even be able to find the building. I grew up in a house which was in a village. It didn't have a number, just had a name, actually shared a name with another house in the village. Drivers still get lost. If I try and get a taxi to my parents' house, they still get lost. So this is frustrating for drivers. And the previous panel were talking about optimizing and reducing downtime. And if you think about how much wastage there is, if you think about all those millions and millions of deliveries a day we're doing in Europe, and how much of that time a driver might be lost in the final mile, looking for the right entrance, going to the wrong entrance, getting back in the van, having to drive it around a one-way system and park again, all of that lost time and all of that used up fuel that drivers are doing because they can't find the exact location, the exact door, the exact entrance, the exact delivery entrance that's got the elevator on it. So there's lots of wastage because addresses don't quite work as well as they should. And even in our cars, one of the things that, despite the fact that cars are incredibly intelligent these days and they're computers on wheels, people are still often using their phone to navigate, even often when they've paid for a lovely navigation system in the car, but they end up going back to using their phone to navigate because they don't trust that the car is going to take them to exactly the right place. And part of that is tied up with voice. So as we're trying to communicate with our cars and say, take me to this location, find me coffee, turn up the music, I'm cold, turn up the heating, all of those things with voice, they don't really work so well with street addresses. So they work okay for like, find me coffee, take me to Starbucks, those things are fine. But once you start using your voice for street addresses, there's loads of problems and there's loads of reasons it doesn't understand you properly. And I like this tweet because this exemplifies a lot of this for me. This is somebody who's using Alexa for their shopping list. And the shopping list is written down loose leaf Hamberry teeth. Now, as a human, I can guess that was probably loose leaf cranberry tea. I drink tea, so I'm inclined to think it's that. But the problem here is the machine has understood them and it's written it down, but it's made a mistake. But there's no instant, easy way to correct that mistake. And that's exactly the experience many of us have with addresses and voice. So if you put in an address and it doesn't hear you properly, it mixes up some of the words, it doesn't hear you, and it tries to navigate you to the wrong place. That's a frustrating experience, and you often will end up back on your phone. And all kinds of reasons for this. One is this, I mean, any of you who've been to the UK, we've got a very strange way of pronouncing a lot of our street names and place names. If you're from the UK, you know that you say this Worcestershire. If you're not from the UK, you'd be forgiven in saying it lots of other ways. Worcestershire isn't necessarily the immediate way you'd say it. And of course, if you're driving a car and you've got to program that car to understand every street name, every address, every place in different accents. And, you know, in this case, should I program it to understand Worcestershire, but also Worcestershire, Worcestershire, every possible way I might say that, it gets incredibly complicated. And so voice doesn't work very well with addresses either. And in this world that we're going to now, a world of human-machine interaction, the whole idea for us was you should probably have an address system that's designed for that moment, that human-machine interaction. So it's time for a universal address system. It should work the same everywhere you go. So if you stay in an Airbnb in Japan or I come to visit you in Germany, I shouldn't get lost because I can't understand the system or I don't speak the language. I should be able to use it for drone deliveries or going to a beautiful spot on a mountain that might not have an address. And of course, there is a universal address system, and it looks like this. This is GPS coordinates. Now, this is perfect in loads of ways. It's highly unique. It's highly accurate. Every spot in the entire world, every beach, every mountain, every entrance to every building has got one of these addresses, a GPS coordinate. The problem is, if I say to somebody, hi, meet me at 25 degrees, 9 minutes, 40.918, etc., they're probably not going to enjoy typing that into their phone or even speaking it. Lots of people don't even know where the degree sign is on your phone. So this doesn't really work for the human bit. It works for the machines, but the humans can't communicate in long strings of numbers like this. So we wanted to take this and make it human friendly. So what we did is we divided the whole world into a grid of squares like this. So every 3 meter square in the whole world has been pre-assigned an address made of 3 words from the dictionary. So you can see here, this entrance is Thread Strollers Bumble. And I can say, navigate to that location, and that is totally unique. There are 57 trillion of these squares in the world, and every single one is totally unique. So you know you're actually going to get to the right place, the right entrance, the right door, the right spot on the beach for your yoga class. So this parking space, Pirate Gather Daisy. That's the exact location of that parking space, and that is completely unique. And if we look at this behind the scenes, it's a GPS coordinate. So it's a GPS coordinate that can be used to navigate to anywhere in the world. It's just a human-friendly version. So I use 3 words and I can find exact location. So you can see here in 48 languages so far. So every square has an address in all these different languages. They're not translations. They're completely unique. Each system is independent of each other, and you can navigate to that square in whichever language you like. So if I was visiting Japan, I would still use English as the language to navigate. And you can download the app and use it right now. It's free. It works all over the world. You can use it to get deliveries. You can use it to tell your friends where you live. You can use it to find your Airbnb in the middle of the mountains. So everywhere in the world has already been done, and you can use it in 48 languages with more on the way. In car world, this has been built into millions of cars around the world. Mercedes is one example. You can get in your car, you can say, hey, Mercedes, what 3 words, sunroof, mole, jingles, and it will understand you and it will navigate you to that exact 3 meter square. So really straightforward. 3 words, and you get to that exact destination, no problem. It can understand you and it takes you to that exact location. We're working with companies like Here Maps, TomTom, and Mapbox. So you can have what 3 words integration into any map, whether it's in a car, in a logistics setting, in a fleet, a route optimization app, whatever it is, you can have what 3 words in there. And we're working with car companies in different ways. So some of these are our customers. We've also got car company investors like Subaru, Mercedes, and SAIC. So the world of mobility has been embracing what 3 words for quite a while. People are using it in their cars to navigate. And you use it just like a normal address. So this was an example in lockdowns in the UK. The rule in the UK for a long time was that you could only meet people outside in one-to-one. So I was going for a lot of walks outside and I was able to meet people like this. So for example, we just shared this address. So at 11 a.m. we were going to meet at Select Drums Work. I actually use my smartwatch to navigate. So I speak the 3 word address into my watch and then I get a little arrow that directs me to that exact location. This is St. Paul's Cathedral in London. But instead of saying, I'll meet you under the big tree near St. Paul's, there are quite a lot of those, I was able to show up at that exact location. You can see here, that's me taking a photo of where I'm standing in that exact 3 meter square. And I could meet my friends like that. So that's the idea, is you use it just like a normal address. It's really, really straightforward. But it's not just about navigation and it's not just about deliveries, which you can use to get to your front door and make sure that your pizza arrives hot and you don't have to phone the driver and say, where are you? And the driver says, I can't find your door. It's also about really important things like emergencies. So in the UK, in Germany, in South Africa, in the US, lots of places, what 3 words is now used as part of the emergency call systems for many emergency services. So actually for the last kind of 3-4 years, what 3 words has been used in rescues. We see a lot of these over the last few years on Twitter, people saying what 3 words was used to help rescue someone in a motorcycle accident, putting out a fire. This happens every day around the world. We hear from people who've used what 3 words, because if you're in an emergency and for some reason your phone isn't able to transmit its location automatically, you can simply speak the 3 words and in the call center they can type those into their control system and find you exactly where you are and no problem finding you or locating you. Equally, it can be used for hospitals. So this is a hospital in the UK and you can see all of the different entrances for ambulances and for different types of appointments, for deliveries. They all have different entrances with what 3 words, so you can navigate a big campus, any big event, any big stadium, any big campus. And even in the last couple of weeks, we saw this incredible tweet about sometime last week when somebody had said they'd been using what 3 words in rescues in Afghanistan as well. So it's a pretty incredible thing seeing that this is now out in the world. We didn't even know about this until somebody tweeted it. The app is there, it's being used all kinds of ways. It's being used to do drone deliveries. So for example, in the UK, we did a project with Royal Mail to do their first drone delivery in the UK, and they used what 3 words to make sure that the drone came to exactly the right place outside this lighthouse. But from drone deliveries to rescues in Afghanistan to emergency services, right through to delivering pizza, making sure you meet your friends in the right place for a picnic in the park. It's used in all kinds of ways. And that's the idea, to create a global standard for addresses so that nobody has to get lost anymore.